Hey everybody, let's see how many people actually show up here and jump on into the room here. Let's check it out, let's see what's going on. Let's see how many people show up. So this will be on YouTube a little later. This was kind of a last minute kind of a thing. I'll tell everyone when people start coming in what the deal is. And we'll check it out. And we're gonna listen to stuff in Studio One. So let me look up on my second screen here and just see, is anybody gonna actually come into the room? We've been on 41 seconds. Nobody's here yet, but people will show up. I always end up with 20 or 30 people within 5 minutes of this, which is awesome because you guys are fantastic. And so what I was doing is working on a mix. And I wanted to do a quick little demonstration to kind of emphasize a point on some of the things I talk about on my YouTube channel. But until we get some people in here watching, hey, yo, Christo, what's going on? Okay, 3 people, 4 people, excellent. See, you guys didn't take very long, only 1 minute and 17 seconds. It's like a record. You guys are pretty good, man. Hey, Johnny, what's going on, my friend? Johnny Lipsham over in Scotland. I call him Johnny Scotland, just because I get mixed up between Johnny Scotland and Johnny Gibe. I think Johnny Gibe is probably sleeping, so he won't know that I'm online. So I jumped online quickly because I was in the middle of working on what is going to be the July or August quick mix series, and I was mixing the song, and I was doing some stuff with some UAD plugins, which I use a lot, but I was going pretty much using some plugins I haven't used in a while, and then also using the new UAD re-release of the SSL 4000 channel strip, which is, they had done that back in the early 2000s, which is now called the legacy version, and they just re-released it where they actually were able to model the input and the output transformers to give it just some more richness, some more authentic sound to a real SSL console. And I was playing with that for the first time. I actually didn't buy it yet. I've been demoing it. And I was working on the August quick mix, and what do we got, 8 people here? Cool. And I was working on the August quick mix, and I was mixing the drums, the bass, the piano, and the guitars. And just doing the playing with that channel strip is unbelievable. I want you guys to listen to it. And just kind of flipping it on and off and turning on and off these analog plugins, and the sonic difference is just amazing. And I thought, you know what? I want to jump online, and I'm going to let you guys listen to this and just give you kind of a feel for what it sounds like, and kind of just emphasize the point that we always talk about here on my channel and during live streams. We talk about stock plugins and third-party emulation plugins of old school gear. What is the difference? Is it that much of a sonic difference? Blah, 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 blah. What's better? What's worse? We talk about it all the time. And again, I'll say it before I, tell you how much I love these plugins, that you don't need it. It's not a necessity. You should learn how to master your stock plugins, EQ and compression specifically, before you move on to other things, because if you don't know how to use those effectively, these plugins don't matter. However, once you understand and have your head wrapped around compression and EQ and know how to use it and apply it effectively, and apply it effectively is the key term there, the next step could be for you, if you really want that sonic footprint of records that maybe you grew up listening to in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, on some degree, before there were Pro Tools and everything was done in the box, and you want that kind of sonic characteristic of those old records. Well, that's what these plugins do. And I have an amazing example, and I hope it comes through on YouTube the way it comes through here in my control room. What do we have? 10 people here. So if you guys, first of all, I would assume you guys can all hear me, right? I would assume so. Does the level sound okay? And again, I'm looking up at my second screen here, so I'm not trying to be rude if I'm not looking into the camera. Okay, is my level of my voice okay? After doing some experimenting, me and my buddy Johnny Scotland Lipsham, we know that we need to do things from a level point of view to make sure we don't clip. And then the last time we were clipping. Okay, sounds good, cool. Okay, so we're running it right around the -12 dB. for you keeping score. So what I'm going to do, I want to first play back just something really quick in Studio One, and then we'll jump in. We'll take a look at some plugins. I'll put this all on YouTube if you join this late. If you're jumping in the middle of this, have no fear. This will go up on YouTube so you can watch it later. Because I know sometimes people get upset that I don't always tell people when I'm coming online, and then they miss something and they feel like they really missed something. Don't worry. This will go on YouTube and you can watch it later. Cool? Okay, so let me first just play back the beginning of this quickly, just so we can set the levels for Studio One. It should be okay, but I want to make sure it's not clipping. Do yourself a favor, just turn down your monitors or your headphones just a tad. I don't want to blow your ears out. This shouldn't be too loud, but I always want to take precaution. Okay, so here we go. Let's play this back, and you let me all know that you can hear it and how it sounds. I'll play it back a little bit. Here we go. Okay, how's that, everybody? Sounds good? Yeah, it's conservative, Johnny, a little bit, because I just don't want to blow anybody's eardrums out. But I can give you a little more volume in Studio One if you want. You guys let me know. I can always touch it up a tad. It's all good. I left a lot of headroom here. Okay, so here we go. So here's what I wanna kind of show you. So I want to just give you kind of a rundown of what now. Just keep in mind that the vocals aren't mixed in this. I have the vocals muted. There's no reverb. There's no delays. There's nothing except the analog style emulations. You know, setting up the tape machines, the consoles, and the channel strips. That's all we got going on. Okay, so it's it's not mixed, so to speak. Sort of. We're getting there. Okay, and this is going to be part of either July or August quick mix of 2017. So you'll be able to get the multi-tracks for this, just so you know. Let me run you through what I got set up here. Okay, so we're doing an SSL kind of a vibe here because I want to use the new SSL channel strip by UAD, which I'm going to show you. But let's start with the mix bus. So here's what I got going on the plugin. Here's the chain, the mix bus chain. Okay, so here's the virtual console collection. We're using the Brit 4KE, which is the SSL. Okay, and then from there I'm going over to the virtual bus compressor by Slate Digital, and I'm only using the FG red. You can see the FG gray and the FG mu are turned off. This is the rack. I'm just using the Focusrite emulation at this point. From there, I just going to the virtual mix rack, and I have nothing there because during the oh, I got to switch the camera. Yeah, silly me. Stupid me. Sorry about that, folks. See, I'm so excited I forgot. Yeah, let me switch the camera. You can't see it. That's right. Let me get down to camera number, let's go to camera number 2. Sorry about that, folks. How's that look? Okay, so now I got everything set up on all these different screens. Let me go back. Okay, you should be all looking at Studio One now. So we're going to jump back into the mix bus. Okay, so I'm going to go through the plugin chain quickly. Okay, first one is the virtual console. We're on the SSL. Okay, we just said that. Then we went over to the virtual bus compressor, and I'm on the FG red, which is the Focusrite, the one here in the center. Setting it up for a 2-to-1 ratio with a fast release and a fairly slow attack, and we're probably just kissing the needle. Actually, we're doing probably around 1.5 dB or so. And what I love about this particular compressor is this knob right here called the drive. You should be watching this, by the way, at 1080p resolution if you can, so you can see the detail of the plugins. Forgot to mention that. Okay, so the FG Red is what we got going on. Then I'm going over to, again, the virtual mix racking. As you can see, there's nothing here because this is part of my mix template where I have this kind of open because somewhere along the line I may decide to put an EQ or some other processing here depending on the mix. So it's just kind of there. Then the last plugin in the chain, instead of using the virtual tape machine by Slate Digital, this time around, because we're using UAD stuff, I decided to go back to the UAD Ampex ATR 102 tape machine, which I really, really like. Again, it's just a different flavor than the Slate, VTM. It's a great tape machine. What I love about this particular tape machine over the Slate tape machine, if I had to choose one thing I liked different or was different, the UAD tape machines tend to have a lot more color. They're a lot less subtle. The virtual tape machine by Slate Digital is a more subtle plugin. This has a lot more color and vibe to it. It's obvious when you turn it on and off, and we'll do that together. And then from there, I'm going over to the mix checker, which I did a YouTube video on this called Audiofied, which is really just a way for me to check mixes on different sources. If you don't know about this plugin, by the way, go check it out. Audified is how you say it, .com, and get the mix checker, and go check out my review on my YouTube channel. So that's just there to check stuff on different environments. Okay, so that's the mix bus. So now if we were to take a look at all the tracks, they're all laid out the same way with the same 3 plugins, okay? Well, let's look at the kick track, for example. So on the kick track, I'm using, instead of, again, the VTM by Slate Digital, I'm using the Studer 800 by UAD, which is their version of a multi-track 16-track tape machine. The Slate Digital 16-track machine was modeled after this particular tape machine. So again, the differences in sonic quality is that this again has a little bit more hype than the Slate Digital. We're doing everything on 30 IPS per second here as opposed to 15. There's a much bigger sonic difference audio wise when you go from 15 to 30, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. And then we're just using the GP9 tape. Again, you have 4 different tape machine selections here, like on the Slate Digital one. You have an input and an output and inches per second. Okay, pretty straightforward. Then from there on all the tracks, we're going over to the virtual console collection. Again, we're using it on the Brit 4KE to keep our SSL vibe kind of happening. And then last but certainly not least, we're using the new re-release of the SSL 4000E channel strip by Universal Audio. Again, this channel strip was done back in the 2000s by UAD. The difference here now is, with the new technology and having the more available DSP than what's done in the past, they were now able to model not only the EQ, the compressor, and the gate in the filter section more accurately, which is not much different from the other one, the older version, but they were able to model the input and output trends, or the preamp section, which is up here in the top left-hand corner, which was not included as part of the old channel strip because the technology and the DSP power just wasn't there back in those days. So now we have the input preamp. We have the actual transformer that we can bypass by taking off this little button X former here that will model the actual Jensen transformers inside of the SSL. And if you were to disable that, it just, has a different sonic characteristic. When you model the transformer, there's a lot more richness happening, especially in the low end. And then they also have modeled the output section of each channel, which again wasn't part of the legacy version of this. So it's like, the old channel strip really kind of souped up and brought up to today's technology, and it's a lot more accurate and has a lot more color to it than in the past. John, let me check out the chat. Everyone good on the chat right now? 14 people here. Everyone can see everything. Great. Right. Cool. Everybody's good. Everyone's good. Everyone's following along. Wonderful. Excellent. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining, by the way. Okay, so that's the channel strip, right? So now I got those same plugins across all the drums, which are down here in brown. The bass is in blue. I have a piano in purple, electric guitar in green, 2 acoustic guitars in like this different shade of green, okay? The vocals and the background vocals we're not listening to. There was no reverb. There was no nothing on this as far as that kind of processing. Down here on our busing system, we're just running a couple of plugins. On all the buses, we're running another instance of the virtual console. We're on the Brit 4KE again, just like before. And then on the drum bus only at this point, because I just got through this part of the mix when I decided to jump on here and share this with you, as I put the SSL emulation of the FG Gray by Slate Digital on the drum bus only. And we're using a slow attack, medium fast release, about a 2-to-1 ratio. Oops, and I just screwed that up a little bit. And we're only kissing the needle, maybe 1 dB-ish, roughly. It's not that much, okay? All the other busing channels down here in black have no plugins on them at all except for the virtual console, okay? No other processing. Down here in purple's the parallel tracks, the parallel compression tracks, which right now are muted, and there's nothing done there because I didn't get that far in the mix yet. Okay, so that's where we're rocking and rolling. So what I want to do is I'm going to play this back at the beginning of the song, and what I'm going to do, and this is what I love about the new version of Studio One, well, the newest version from about 6 months ago, is I'm going to highlight all these tracks, and I have the ability now, or you all have the ability if you're a Studio One user, is we can highlight all the tracks and we can just click at the top of one of these tracks, let's say the kick track where it says inserts, and we could turn all the plugins on and off, which gives us an instant A/B comparison of what the sound is going to be with the tape machine, the console collection, and the channel strip. Follow? Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it back with all the plugins on, like you just heard a few seconds ago, and then I'm going to kind of toggle them on and off. Now, when I toggle them on and off, you might hear a little slight pop, you know, a little click. Just again, turn down your monitors a little bit. It's not going to be completely seamless because it just isn't with the processing, okay? But you'll be able to hear the difference. Let me know if you can hear the difference. So that's cool. Is everybody cool with that? Let's do that. So here we go. Here is from the top of the song with all the processing that I just spoke about. And then maybe I'll walk through the SSL channel strip on a couple of tracks and show you, you know, kind of how it works. Okay, so here we go. Here's with all the plugins. Okay, I'm going to take all the plugins off. That's with no processing, raw tracks. And there we go. So I don't know how that sounded to you over YouTube, but let me check out the chat here because I think there were a couple of comments on it. Was the level good? That's important for me to know. Was the level good? I think it was probably good, because if it was horrible, you probably would have said something. At least I hope you would have said something to me. So anyway, that is the difference between raw tracks and analog style plugins. So a couple of people had said, yeah, it brings everything to life. Now, one thing that is definitely there is there's obviously a little bit of a volume jump, and that's kind of intentional. It's not perfectly level matched. I wasn't really going for that. I'm really pushing that SSL channel strip pretty hard, because the more you push that kind of a plugin, the more richness and harmonics you have there. So I guess, you know, it's a little unfair. The volume level may make you think it sounds better, but if you were to level match it and you were to listen to it, you'd hear the difference. So let's just use an example of what, let's just do like the overheads. I think were a pretty good example. Let's do an example of let's just solo up the overheads here. So you can kind of hear maybe just what this channel strip kind of does, you know, in real time here. So if we were to open up the channel strip over here, let me loop this a little bit here. Let's get a little loop happening. And I'll turn this up in a second so you can hear it better. How's the level on that? Pretty good? So that's without the channel strip. Now we do have the tape machine and we have the virtual console. I just want you to hear the channel strip. I'll turn it up some more. So one of the things that really make this plugin really good, levels good. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So one of the things that really makes this plugin really happening is the preamp side, the input, which I said is new to this new version of the plugin. Particularly the difference between the mic and the line. So when it comes defaulted, you can flip between the mic input and the line input, and you say, well, what's the difference? Well, the line input is similar to like you'd have on a regular analog, you know, mixer. Is when you patch into the line, you're not getting the mic pre, and you're not getting that as much of the harmonic distortion. It bypasses the mic pre itself, and it's just kind of a line in. You know, kind of like how you would insert like a compressor into a channel. When you go onto the mic side and you start to push this red knob a little bit, what you start getting is a little bit of a harmonic distortion and a lot more coloration, and it just gives a more richness to it. So what I'll do is I'll play that back and I'll just flip back and forth. You can just flip it by hitting the flip button, and then it goes to the line, which is in green, and then over to mic, which is in red. Okay, so we'll start off on the red and I'll flip back and forth so you can kind of hear what that's doing. That's the line input. Again, it's a little lower in volume. It's not level matched, but just listen to just more of the excitement of what's going on here. Can people hear? Can you guys hear that over YouTube land? Is that obvious in the level? Now, when I'm flipping back and forth, you're getting a little bit of a clip, a little bit of an overload there. Again, it's just part of the way the plugin kind of works. We also have this transformer button, which is really cool. Now, this is a little more subtle, and I don't know how well you're going to hear this over YouTube, but it kind of affects the low end more than anything else. So I have it enabled on all the tracks. I can pull it out just by clicking that button. So let's start with it and I'll pull it out. Let's see what we can hear the difference. That's disabled. It's enabled. So I don't know what you guys are hearing over there in YouTube land, but over here with it enabled, it gives it a little bit more of a compressed sound. It's not as open. It's a little more squishy, which in a good way, okay? That's what I'm kind of hearing on this particular track, on the overhead track. Okay, if we were to do the same example, maybe on something like the kick drum, let's see if we can really kind of demonstrate the low end a little bit better. So let's do the kick drum. So here's the channel strip for the kick. This is with the transformer button enabled, disabled. So it's pretty subtle. You may not hear the difference on this one. Okay, I can tell you what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is when it's disabled, which is the state that it's in right now, and it's hard to see, and I'll tell you when I turn it on and off. The sustain of the kick is a little bit more when it's not disabled. When you enable it, the sustain shortens up a little bit and it gets a little bit more tight. Again, it's more compressed sounding, and again, it's subtle. So right now it's disabled, and then I'll press it in and out. So we'll start with it off and then we'll turn it on. Listen for the sustain and let me know if you can hear it. I'd be interested to hear if you can hear the difference. So we're off right now. Now we're on. Now let's turn the entire plug-in, just the channel strip, off on the kick. That's before. That's on with EQ and compression. Okay, so, and there's a lot of EQ here to kind of get rid of some of that snare bleed as much as I could. I tried using a gate and the gate wasn't really working for me all that well. So what you'll find here on, and we'll listen to maybe the whole drum mix, is on all the drums, everything is being compressed very subtly. About 3 dB of compression. I think on the overheads I might be compressing a little bit more. I'm not doing a lot of compression here. I'm doing everything at like a 2.5 to 1 ratio, as you can see over here in the dynamic section. I'm using a fairly quick release, and on this particular channel strip, I'm using a slow attack. You either have a fast or a slow attack on this channel strip just by clicking this LED. When you click the LED, the release button on a console actually pulls out like a push-pull, and you can see, well, maybe you can't really see it over the YouTube here. It kind of pulls the release in and out. And normally when I teach compression with drums, a lot of times, depending on the compressor, I'm using a fast attack to kind of push the drums back in the mix a little bit. On this particular track with this particular plugin, it just sounded more lively and a little more rockin' by using a slow attack. So I chose to use a slow attack on this. You don't have a variable attack like you do on a typical compressor. So you have either slow or fast. And even the slow is fairly fast and the fast is really fast on this particular console. Okay, so that's all we're really doing here. And then on the EQ section, excuse me, down here in the brown knobs here on the low frequencies, I'm boosting about 50 hertz, about 3 dB-ish. I'm rolling off, let's see, am I rolling anything off here? Oh yeah, I'm rolling off a lot at around 1K to get rid of some of the snare. I'm really trying to take a lot of the snare out because there was a lot of bleed here. And then that's really about it. So if we were to listen to the, let's listen to the whole, just the drum mix itself. And we'll throw the percussion in, what the hell. So now what we can do is just turn off the channel strip on just these plugins, or just these tracks, sorry. Just gonna turn off just the UAD. Let it loop around. That's only the channel strip being turned off. We're still using the tape machine. We're still using the virtual console. And here's what the UAD is adding to this drum mix. It's before, after. So hopefully you guys can hear that over YouTube. Again, it's slightly louder. Again, it's not level match, but there is an enormous amount of richness and tightness that UAD channel strip adds to just those drums. There's a ton of it I can hear in here. Over YouTube, I'm not sure what you're hearing as much. And again, as we did the demonstration where we turned all the plugins on and off on all the tape machines, the console, and the channel strip, again, you're hearing raw tracks versus fully processed with vintage style plugins. To me, this is a really good example of what these kind of plugins do, where you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot get that same kind of sonic characteristic from stock plugins. There is no way. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get stock plugins on this particular mix to sound really good, because you can. And what I may end up doing, because this track, the kind of song that it is and the quality of recording that it is, I may make the follow-up quick mix to this with the same song using stock plugins so people can see the actual difference. You could get a nice mix with stock plugins, without a doubt, but you will never achieve this kind of sonic footprint, for lack of a better word. So if you like that warmth and you like that kind of analog vibiness, this is why you use these kinds of plugins, okay? Let's just demonstrate now what the drums sound like and what the Studer tape machine is doing to just the drums, okay? I'm just gonna turn off the Studer tape machine. Everything else will be on, meaning the virtual console and the channel strip. Now, keep in mind that we're gonna have a little bit of a volume shift because, you know, the tape machine is the first part of the plugin, the first plugin in the chain, and it's gain staged a little. So, you know, keep in mind, you know, this is not going to be volume-wise an exact one-to-one. It just won't be. But you'll get the idea, okay? So let's do that. Let's add the bass too, because Johnny's a bass player. So for Johnny Lipsham, we're going to add bass guitar. And we're just going to turn up the Studer. That's with no tape machine. No tape machine. Okay, so now we got the tape. There's the tape machines. That's a tape machine in and out. So as you can hear, hopefully, a lot of compression and a lot of warmth and a lot of roundness to the sound. Again, this particular tape machine is a lot more colorful than the Slate Digital VTM, which I use all the time. You guys see me use the Slate Digital a lot more than I use the Studer. It was kind of nice to go back to the Studer and to use this again, because I've forgotten how much I really like it. So now let's now that we're looking at that, let's also just see, let's turn on the whole mix again. You guys digging what's going on here? Are you cool? What's going on? Let me just look up at the chat here, make sure everybody's you still with me all? We still got 14, 15 people here. This is cool. Johnny says the bass comes a lot louder without the right, because that's right, because I was pushing the input a little harder on the bass, and there I was backing off the output. So again, from a gain staging point of view into the virtual console collection, the bass is going to be a little bit louder without it, but that's by design. Again, this is so when you're turning off the very first plugin in the chain and not turning it all off, after the fact, you're going to get kind of a volume shift. So it's sometimes it's a little hard to not focus on the volume, but focus more on the tonality. That's kind of the point. So is everybody still digging? Everyone's still here? Everyone's still cool? So now let's just go over to drums and bass, and let's play back that. But now let's open up. I just want to show you the difference of what this particular the mix bus tape machine is doing, which is the ATR 102. And again, as opposed to the Slate tape machine, a lot more colorful in my opinion. So we'll just play this back, and I'll just bypass it in and out. Okay, so right now it is on, and then I'll just flip it, bypass in and out. So we'll start with it on. I know the reasons you... Oh, I need to get rid of that vocal because none of these vocals are supposed to be in the mix, so to speak. Let's hold on a second here. Let me get these out of the way. We're gonna play. Yeah, we'll play back the rest of the tracks too. We'll do guitars and pianos and all that. Okay, here we go. And as you can see, we're not hitting the tape machine very hard. That's the tape machine off. And that's what it's on. Off. On. Okay, so again, hopefully you guys can hear that there's just a lot of color that this tape machine's. It's very obvious, which I like. I mean, it's got its own special vibe to it. And there's a gazillion settings on this, and I'm not going to spend the time to go through it all. Oh, I will tell you though, on this setting, we're using 15 inches per second on this tape machine as opposed to 30. On the multi-track one. Okay, so the difference between 15 and 30, obviously the tape machine moves a little bit slower, and therefore you're going to get a little bit more compression. It's going to shave off the top end a little bit more. It's going to get a little bit more warmth. Okay, that's the difference. So this is the UAD ATR 102 tape machine. And then let's see, anything else? Any questions you guys have? Yes, woolier, Johnny says. Yes, woolier is a good word for it. Yeah, I call it warm woolier. Yeah, it depends. Again, it's all what vibe you're going for. Any other questions? Anything you guys have about what I just kind of showed you? Again, the mix is not done, and this wasn't something I was going to do. I just jumped on here because I thought it was an interesting comparison. And I was really, really loving the way these plugins were sounding, and I just wanted to share it with you. And again, this will be coming up in July or August. This is a quick mix. The name of the song is I'm All Right by the band Angels and Amplifiers. Yeah, I think it's Angels and Amplifiers. Oddly enough, some trivia question for all you Studio One users. Back in the day of version, I want to say it's version 2. It definitely wasn't version 3. This particular song was actually the demo song that was included with PreSonus Studio One. Did you guys know that? I bet you didn't know that, or maybe some of you did. So this came with Studio One as the demo track. And again, I think it was one of the earlier versions, early on in version 2. It's no longer available, but I have it, and I thought it was cool. So if you bought an early version of Studio One and you got this, you might have mixed this with Studio One plugins, and now I'm mixing it with everything but Studio One plugins. So you knew that, Johnny. Okay, cool. A lot of people didn't know that. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on there. So yeah, I just wanted to jump on quick and show you. Nothing really major going on. I'm going to finish this mix today, and I got to get it ready to, for when we do quick mix. So if you're interested in the multi-tracks for this and a full-on in-depth tutorial on all the plugins and how I'm mixing in, what I end up doing with reverbs and delays and automation and blah, 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 be sure to look out for either the July or August quick mix. That will be there. And let me go back to camera 1 here, and that'll be that. So do you guys have any questions at all? Let me look and see what's going on in the chat, and then if not, I'm gonna go back to work because I gotta work for a living. So any Manuel says track sounds great. Yeah, thanks. I think it does. It was really well recorded, and whenever you have a really well recorded track, obviously what we're doing here is we're not doing anything surgical. We're just sweetening it up and just adding what I feel to be the right plugins to really give this track that really nice analog vibe, which is really what I wanted to go for here. And if you're not a UAD owner, doesn't matter. You can use really any kind of analog emulations. You can always check out Waves. They have a lot of the same kind of plugins. They have the SSL 4000 collection, which is their emulations of these SSL plugins. They have tape machines. They have all that stuff, or Slate Digital. But yeah, I love the UAD stuff, and I've been using it for a long time, and I'm really loving this new channel strip that they have. It just gives an enormous amount of color and vibiness to it, at least in my opinion. So any other questions? If you guys don't have any questions at all, I'm probably going to head out and get back to work and try to get the rest of this stuff together. Again, stay tuned to all the stuff on the YouTube channel and Home Recording Made Easy. There'll be more stuff coming very, very soon. We will have some more information on learningtomix.com, which I talked about in the last live stream, probably over the next week or so. You guys are really going to enjoy that, and we're going to have lots of cool tracks and mixing videos and stuff on there. So hopefully you guys remember about learningtomix.com. And that is it. You're very welcome for the videos, no problem. If you guys jumped in here a little late and you want to go back and rewatch this, it will be up on YouTube in a little bit. I'll make sure it gets posted and you guys can check it out. But for now, I'm going to take off because I need to get back to work and make some money so I can feed my family like all you guys should be working instead of hanging out on YouTube. So until next time, guys, thanks for joining me. Thanks for stopping in. We had like 13, 14 people. We're down to 10, but I just appreciate you guys, getting this no notice notification, and you just jumped on to kind of support me and kind of, listen in and hang out with me for a bit. So until next time, this has been Dave. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.